Hey everyone, and welcome to another installment of the Pure Nintendo Koopa Kast. I'm Trev, and don't have our usual trio with us today, even though we are talking about a trio of games, the Kirby Dreamland trilogy. But Justin's not with us. He's probably busy working on the message from the editor for the new issue of Pure Nintendo Magazine, which is so close to being completed. So hopefully you'll be checking that out soon. But Gemma's with me, as always. Welcome, Gemma.
Thank you, Trev. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. And I should be giving you an extra big welcome because it's actually pretty early where you are. It's mid afternoon my time, but it's pretty early in
Yeah,
Australia.
nice and early, bright and early. That's all good.
Are you bright tailed, bushy eyed, something like that?
Oh,
Did I say that
sort of.
backwards? No,
I'm not sure, actually. It's too
I think I
early.
said that backwards.
I'm not usually a morning person, but it's fine.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
worth it.
I'm not. That's why I'm not on the podcast. So
Yeah, yeah. It's hard, but it's good.
I owe you one, though. I owe you one.
Thank you.
So yeah, as I mentioned, we're talking Kirby today. Yeah, we went from Mario to Kirby, and then we'll be jumping to Pokemon. We're kind of doing all sorts of stuff to end 2022. But for Kirby, it's timely because it's been 30 years for the
Mm,
Pink Puffball, his 30th anniversary.
it's amazing.
Time flies. We were talking a little bit before Gemma, but I was curious when you got into Kirby because I actually didn't get into Kirby until probably 13 years ago or so when I downloaded Kirby's Adventure on the Wii Virtual Console. So ever since then, I've been catching up, but I wasn't around for. I mean, I was around, but I wasn't playing Kirby back in the '90s. How
Yeah,
about you?
I was the same actually. I somehow missed out on the Kirby, the phenomenon that is Kirby. And I think the thing that I remember discovering Kirby with was actually Smash Brothers.
Ah,
The
yeah.
is it Super Smash Brothers, the Wii version
Hmm.
was the one that we were playing a lot of, and Kirby quickly became one of my favorite fighters just because of his floating ability. I tend to fall off the sides a lot. I'm not very good at Smash Brothers, but
Oh, you and me both.
it's a lot of fun, and I love the collection of characters, but I'm not very good. And I tried all the characters. I tried my usual because Mario is my thing and Zelda, but didn't work out for me. But Kirby, he's my go-to in Smash Brothers, so that kind of inspired me to try out the Kirby franchise. And just like you, realized I've been missing out. Like he's such a versatile character, and he's been
Yeah.
around. Yeah, like you said, 30 years. So 1992 was his debut. And I mean, I think one of these three games that we're going to talk about today didn't even come out in Australia for the Super Nintendo at the time.
Yeah. It's
So that's
crazy.
one reason why I missed it. I couldn't even get it here.
Oh,
Um,
well, that's a fair reason. That's
yeah,
understandable.
thanks. But yeah, definitely I've gone back like you. It might have been Kirby's Adventure, even. I can't remember which one, but that one, I definitely played a VC game. Was there one also on the DS or 3DS? Because I might have played one, and I thought it was a Game Boy game as well.
Yeah, Kirby's been around. I tell you, there's been a lot of. Well, there's the mainline games, but there's been a lot of spin-offs too that are kind
Mm,
of
hmm
interesting. They have a lot of unique mechanics, and hopefully we'll be talking about them in the months ahead.
hmm
But yeah,
Yeah, he's
he's
so unique. I mean,
versatile, like you said. I mean,
yeah,
all
I feel
sorts of
like
games.
he's a little like Mario in a way, just because of that versatility. Like Mario's got, Mario Party, Mario Kart, Mario Tennis, blah blah blah, and Kirby's done. I think it's like 30 or more games in his 30 years, right? It's like it's a huge amount.
Yeah, I feel like there's always a. I mean, even back here in the early days of the Game Boy, there was besides the main games, there was pinball and there were
Mm,
block breaker Kirby and puzzle Kirby and all sorts of. On the Game Boy Color, they had the tilt Kirby with like early motion controls. So
which is super
yeah,
cool.
he's been around. But it's funny you mentioned discovering him in Smash because of course we associate with Smash Brothers. Sakurai is the director of those games,
Mhm.
but the original Kirby's Dream Land was his debut game,
That's
and
really
of course
cool.
Yeah, he went on to make more Kirby games throughout the 90s, even at the turn of the millennium. And of course, in more recent times, he's known for the Smash games. But I have a feeling the Kirby fans were probably nicer to him than the Smash fans are. I feel like he's taken some grief from Smash fans.
Oh yeah, yeah. Has he's finished up with the franchise, hasn't he? Did they say that the last one was his last one? Is that what he said?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I can't blame him. I mean,
It's a tough.
Nintendo fans are kind of. I think we're generally good, but certain I don't know, certain franchises bring out the worst of us, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
But not
Yeah.
Kirby, because Kirby's just so lovable and
Mhm.
playful, and um, he just makes you smile. I mean, eh, that's what I think of. Except in North America, they always kind of make him frown on the covers. I don't know, they make him look
Oh,
tough.
that's right. That's so strange because he is so cute. The
I
games
know.
just kind of reek of cuteness. They're just adorable. Like I was playing, excuse me, the third one. I mean, obviously we're going to go through them in order, but I was playing that this week on the Switch online,
Nice.
and just going back and seeing how adorable it is. It's just, it's you can't, like you said, you can't help but smile. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
it'll
and it's
melt even the most jaded of hearts.
yeah. That would be a good poll, wouldn't it, I think?
What's that?
I don't know, something to do with, because it's coming up to the holiday season. Is there anything, if there's a Scrooge out there or someone who's like bah humbug about the holidays, could even Kirby just melt that heart of yours and I don't
I
know, get
think
you
he
into the
could.
right space?
I'm probably the pure Nintendo Scrooge, and he's melting my heart. So.
Well, there you go.
What's
Good to know.
Yeah, what's interesting looking at this early game, on the Game Boy, it's modest, obviously, but
Mhm.
even though the Kirby framework was there, a lot of the things we take for granted now, like copy abilities or animal allies, like the other Dreamlight games had, they're not in this. It's pretty much
Mm.
kind of a straight platformer. And even Kirby himself, like you look at the cover on the Game Boy box, I seem to remember when I was a kid looking at it and being like, "Is this like a ghost? Is he like Boo from Mario? Is this like a
Yeah.
supernatural game?" And it's really not, but
Yeah, that's
uh,
true.
Kirby was
Yeah.
not the pink puffball back then. He was the pale puffball, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny how they didn't have the copy ability because I think that came was it in the second game? Not the
Yeah,
second of the trilogy that we're talking about, but the second Kirby game, I believe, is
yeah,
when
on the
yeah.
NES.
Yeah. So that's really interesting, and going back to that one relatively recently also, and just having forgotten that he actually once didn't have copy abilities. It's so strange. It's like,
Yeah,
yeah, Kirby without copy, it's just not Kirby, but I guess everyone starts somewhere, and I guess it's like Mario again. If you look at the original Mario Brothers, you couldn't go backwards on the screen, for example. You couldn't, pick up
I know.
sorry, not pick up enemies. You couldn't, there was just a lot of things that felt
Yeah,
different to that very early Mario. So,
that's true.
you know, Kirby's
That's a good
evolved.
point. I remember trying in Mario to get the free life and then go back and go down the
Yeah.
pipe, and it was so tight. I could
Yeah.
barely do it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Uh,
But I think it definitely set up the stage for what Kirby has, gone on to become, in terms of the platforming at least. Like it's, solid platforming. And like you said, it's a simple not simple, but it's a short game, isn't it? This one, the first one.
yeah,
Mm.
it's probably, and I've played it a few times. Probably, I'd say half an hour, maybe even less, to be honest.
Mm.
Because I mean, Kirby games aren't really known for challenge. At least not the main game, like the first time through.
Mhm.
And I think without copy abilities, there's less of that experimentation, so that cuts down on time too. Because
True.
like later games, you kind of want to suck up everything just to try every combination
Yeah,
and see what you
exactly.
like. So it's short. I don't know if that's is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Is that a neutral thing? Because
Mm.
obviously when I played it, and you too, we played it later,
Mhm.
via emulation, virtual console, and they were like this game still is on 3DS if you have your Nintendo account linked for a few
Mhm.
months, and I think it's like $4. And for that price, I have no problem with a half hour length, but I was trying to think if I was a kid
Mm.
buying this in '92, would I have been ticked off that it was over? What do you think?
Yeah, that's a good question. It does seem short by comparison to other games. I'm trying to think how long Mario's Game Boy Adventure was. It definitely was longer than half an hour, but it was, and even his NES debut isn't a super long game. You could finish it pretty quickly if you're skilled enough.
Yeah,
But
if you're good.
yeah, not that I ever did at the time. Um, and I think there's still some challenge there. Like later, there are a lot of enemies that come at you eventually, and the boss fights aren't too difficult, I guess, but they're challenging enough. Especially if you are, like if you said, if you're a kid, you may
Yeah.
die and have to come back because there was no save state with this one, right? You
No, that's
couldn't.
true. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true. That's
so that might have added some longevity.
Yeah,
And I think that was a bit more common in the early 90s anyway, to not have a
yeah.
save state, or at least in the 80s, I guess.
I know. Well,
Um,
even I mean, we talked about it in the Mario
mm,
Koopa Kast. Even Mario 3 didn't have a battery
true.
save
Yeah.
until the SNES version.
Yeah, which was
Um,
super annoying
yeah, that was a
because that
big
was a
game.
longer game. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So I don't know, it's hard to say. I'd probably say it's more of a you'd think it'd be more of a con, but I don't think it detracts from the game's value. Like I said, it's $4, so I wouldn't
yeah,
I wouldn't be worried about paying $4 to play a half-hour game, especially because
yeah,
it does. You can obviously play it again over time. You can come back and do it again, but then there's also the unlockable harder mode, right?
yeah. After you beat it, you unlock a music player, I think, and in
Hmm.
the hard mode. And I actually because I reviewed this game, I think when it came out on 3DS, and I pulled this quote. I think I reviewed it when it was on 3DS, or
Oh,
maybe I just did a
cool.
retro review. I can't remember, but
Yeah.
I said, for those who might be thinking that all Kirby games are light on challenge, I suggest giving this, the unlockable harder mode, a whirl. The enemies are far more numerous and they inflict much more damage. It's kind of, it's almost odd in a way because I'd gotten so accustomed to Kirby, with a gentler challenge.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now when it's, almost like pulling a Mega Man here, I'm like, whoa. So
Yeah, that's
that gives it
interesting.
replay value if you're into that sort of thing.
Yeah, true, true. Did you ever finish that hard mode?
I did not. I just didn't have the desire. There's
Yeah.
certain games where I will try to like get better but I don't know, Kirby just, it's like, yeah, it's just I don't associate it with challenge, so I don't
Mm.
desire it. Like,
Yeah, fair enough.
like I think about it like early like games for like Game Boy NES. Like I can love Mega Man, I can love Kirby, and they're in the opposite end of like the challenge spectrum. But I like them both, and I don't care about I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah. Well, I guess if that's what Kirby's known for and meant to be, then that's fair enough. And
Yeah.
maybe that's why. I mean, do they has he ever done that in other games? Had a harder mode unlockable?
I think in the oh, I'm trying to think. Was it Star Allies? That was
Oh
the
yeah.
last one
Hmm.
before the new one. I think that had updates. Maybe that made it
Right.
hard, but I haven't actually played it,
Interesting.
so I don't
So
know.
it seems like it's not a common thing for him, and maybe that's
Yeah,
just part of being the
like
first
Epic
game.
Yarn on the 3DS had Devilish mode, but that was part of the port. It wasn't in the original game, so
Hmm. Right.
yeah. I just think Kirby, people don't expect that. It's more about, bright colors and happy
Mm.
music and experimenting and exploring and that's cool. I mean,
Yeah,
it's good to have
definitely.
games on all ends of the challenge spectrum.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think
Yeah.
Kirby definitely has a place for that.
And I mean it worked because up until up until a few days ago when we found out Nintendo's sale numbers, the original Dreamland was the best seller in the franchise at over 5
Yeah,
million games.
yep, that's
Forgotten
pretty
Land
good.
just passed it.
And it's actually one of the top 10 selling Game Boy games.
Oh, is that right? Wow, that's
Yeah.
wild.
I think it comes in at number 9.
That's
It's only
impressive,
it's
yeah.
only beaten by the likes of Pokemon, Mario 1 and
Oh,
2,
yeah.
Mario Land
Pokemon
1
beat
and 2.
everything, I bet.
Yeah, yeah. Tetris, of course, and Doctor Mario.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then oh,
Back to
and
Mario, really?
yeah, that got a
Wow.
just a little bit more, got a 5.3, whereas, Kirby was
Huh.
about 5.1, so
We'll have to tell Justin when he, joins us next time
yeah, yeah.
'cause he loves Dr. Mario.
Yeah, exactly. But, yeah, it's all Pokemon, Mario, and Kirby, so that's pretty cool, and Tetris.
Wow,
Yeah,
impressive.
it's a
So
fun
way to
fact.
go, the original game, it set the template and, it was a big
Mm.
seller, and yeah, kudos to Kirby. He was a hit right out of the gate.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like there's a few more Mario comparisons. I don't know if it's just me, but it's like, I mean, being a platformer is one, but some of their characters, like you said, he looks himself looked a bit like Boo, but there were some other ghostly characters in that first game that looked a bit like Boo, and I was like, are they meant to be Boo? And those little guys walking around, they really look like Shy Guys to me.
Yeah, it really is weird. I'm like, because there's really nothing like, spooky or anything about Kirby, so
Mm,
it's weird how some of the enemies kinda make you think that, like they're playing with our expectations, but I don't know. These
yeah.
crazy developers at HAL Laboratory.
Yeah.
So,
Where do they get
have
the
to
inspiration from? That's what I want to know.
but I actually just thought of this when you said it, another Mario comparison, as we jump to the second game, you think of the original, like, Mario Land on the Game Boy, that was a short
Mhm.
game, but
Mm,
then the sequel, Six Golden Coins was a much bigger game, and the
mm.
same is true, with the second entry for Kirby on the Game Boy, which came out in '95, that's 3 years later, and I was thinking about it, I don't know if I thought this back in the day because I wasn't as aware of Kirby, but it seems odd that it came out on the Game Boy and not like the
Yeah.
Super Nintendo because they had already had home console experience with Kirby's Adventure, which
Mm.
followed the original, Dreamland game, so, yeah, I wonder why it didn't land on the SNES.
That's a good question. I'm not
I
sure.
don't have an answer. If anyone listening has an answer, feel free to, email us or comment in the usual places.
Yeah, yeah, it's a good point. And the difference between Mario Land 1 and 2 was also 3 years, but that was 3 years ahead, so Mario 2 was coming out at the same time as Kirby
Oh, that's
1,
true,
Dreamland
yeah,
1. So, yeah,
that's
it's
true, I
interesting
didn't
because 1995, by this point, we were definitely well into, yeah, Kirby's established, console, ness as well.
yeah.
Um,
The Game Boy was really, I mean, looking long in the tooth at that point. I know
yeah,
Pokemon would come out and then kinda give it a second wind, but,
yeah,
I mean, let's be frank, the Game Boy was dated in 1989 when it came out.
yeah,
So by '95, it was positively archaic, and yet
mm.
it's getting a great game like this, you
Yeah, I
know?
wonder if it was because the first one I mean, because it's the second of a series, as opposed to all the other Kirby games, this is Dreamland
Maybe.
2. Maybe they just
Yeah.
wanted to bring it out on the same platform that the first one came out. Maybe they thought that's where the fans would be more likely to play it because they had played the first one. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah, it
guess
is
so,
interesting.
but, a heck of a bigger game. I mean, um, just the first area in Dreamland 2, the grassland, that whole area, and that's only the first area, it's bigger than the entirety of the last game.
Yeah.
So it shows
Yeah.
you what a jump in content, um,
Mm.
it is, and obviously the big addition for Dreamland 2 are the animal allies, which, of course, would continue in the 3rd one as well.
Mhm.
Rick the hamster, Kine the fish, if I'm saying that right, or Keen? Kine? And
Looks
Coo
like
the
kind.
owl. Um, Kinda remind me in a way of the Oracle games on Game Boy where Link had his
Mm.
animal allies.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know if that
Yeah.
was a Game Boy thing or what, but
I don't know, but it was a good idea and I loved it. I mean,
yeah,
we were saying earlier how cute these games are. When you find Rick the hamster, and I mean, I don't know how you couldn't smile at that. It's like this cute, cute
yeah,
little hamster.
they're all
That
fun.
yeah, and they're all fun and they're all different. Obviously, one's on land, one's in the water, and one's
Yeah,
flying. So there's varied environments to suit those animal companions, which is
Yeah,
good
and
because the
each
platform.
power up you get reacts
Mhm.
differently with each,
Mm,
or copy ability, I should say, not power up, but each copy ability you get reacts differently depending on what animal you have. So there's a lot of that experimentation
mm,
that the first game didn't have.
which is really clever. And I think that goes back to the very first thing we said, which is that Kirby is so versatile. I mean,
Yeah,
especially someone who can copy abilities, it's almost limitless what Kirby can be or do. And having different abilities with different companions, that makes it even more diverse. So I think it's an awesome idea. I love that
yeah.
idea. Yeah,
It
there's
actually
nothing.
kind of makes me think of when I mentioned earlier, like how I could like Mega Man and Kirby, even though they're on the opposite ends of the challenge
Mm,
spectrum.
hmm
They kind of both have that same mechanic where they take abilities from others and adopt
mm.
them as their own powers. I never thought about that till just now, actually.
True.
But
So is that the common thread
that must be what
that
draws me.
yeah. That's pretty cool.
Versatility.
You'll think about that every time you play now.
Um, yeah, I want a Kirby Mega Man crossover.
Yeah, now that would be something.
I don't know how that would work, but
Who's your favorite of the
that's my new dream.
yeah, let's make that happen. Let's start a Kickstarter. What's
Yeah, we just have to get the rights from Nintendo and Capcom. So
yeah.
I'm sure that'll
Otherwise,
be
we'll have
easy.
to create our own and we'll have to call it, like, Carby instead of Kirby or something.
Yeah, and we'll get a Mighty Number 9 instead of Mega Man. Oh, I'm
It
getting
could
off
work.
track there.
That's alright.
Um,
Well, which is your favorite of those 3 animal friends?
I think it's gotta be Koo,
Mhm.
which might seem redundant because Kirby obviously can float,
Mm.
and so Koo's flying isn't maybe that unique, but I feel like some of the copy abilities just work better with Koo, like, in terms of, like, range on the screen, like, I feel like I can do more. Not that the enemies are terribly threatening, but I just feel like maybe he moves a little quicker
Mm.
and
Yeah.
just says a little more. But they're all good. I mean, I like that's really the thing I like in Kirby is kind of playing around with the different powers and finding favorites. And obviously with the animals, it's like the powers are all, multiplied. So, but yeah, I think I got to go with Koo.
Cool.
Koo Owl.
Coo. Yeah, no, he is good. And I think, yeah, like you said, Kobe can fly, obviously. I don't know if we mentioned that already, but that's another power he has, and that's a really handy thing. Well, that's why I liked him in Smash. Although in Smash, he only has limited flight time. I wish he could stay
Ah,
up a bit more. He doesn't float as long as he does in the games. Um,
I suppose that could be like kind of trollish. You could just kind of hover
yeah,
above the
I know.
field and
I
wait
would
for
totally
everyone to
do
float through it.
that. But the flying is different with the owl, and it's yeah, it makes it somewhat easier because you're kind of just steering, right? You're not hovering. You're not kind of like
Yeah, I feel like it
floating, I
makes it
guess. Mm.
gives it more range of flight.
Mm.
Not just
Yeah,
bobbing along.
yeah. And I like the look of the fish. I like the underwater sections. But I think
Yeah.
the hamster's my favorite, just for sheer cuteness.
All right.
He just looks like he's smiling, and I just love him.
I wasn't thinking about it. I should have thrown a poll up to see
Ah, yeah,
which
yeah.
readers preferred.
Mm.
Because I did that when we did the Zelda games with the animal
Hmm.
allies. I can't remember who won, but
Oh, yeah. Trying to think back as well.
yeah.
No, I can't remember either.
Anyway, one of the not a fun fact, one of the sad facts I discovered when I was kind of looking over info about these games for our recording is that at one time there was a Game Boy Color deluxe version, sort of like Link's Awakening planned
Mm,
for Kirby Dream Land 2, and that got canned. And that's a bummer because I mean the game already looks pretty great by Game Boy standards. I imagine how much better it would have looked in color.
mm. Do you know what happened with that one?
I don't know, but we would have been able to see Kirby as pink on the Game Boy.
Yeah,
Um, I don't know.
that would have been super cool.
It's one of those things we can regret or miss. And I
Yeah.
guess there was a what was the thing on the Super Nintendo that would make Game Boy games show up better?
Yeah, there was that. I don't remember
I
what it
can't
was
even think of the
called.
name of it.
Yeah.
I didn't have one, but I was aware of it. Super Game Boy, I think.
Yeah, that's probably what it was. Yep.
And I guess
Mm.
this game had some Super Game Boy enhancements like borders or frames or whatever. But
Mhm.
in any case, yeah, whether you played it on the Game Boy or Super Game Boy or Virtual Console, I think it's one of my favorite Game Boy games. I think certainly one of the more ambitious ones in terms of kind of offering like console length content.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, considering it comparing it to the first one, like we said earlier, it's just yeah, worlds apart really, isn't it? There's so much more depth to it. Even the ending, is this the one where you fight King Dedede, whose name I don't know how to say properly, and then he kind of turns into someone else?
Yeah, was it what Dark Matter? Like that?
Yeah. And then this is maybe the first time Kirby's wielded a sword, I think. Is it?
Um,
Or has he
would
done it before?
no, he had an adventure and then well,
Oh,
did he
yeah.
actually now I'm wondering. I've played so many of these Kirby games lately, they're kind of blurring together.
Yeah.
Not in a bad way, mind you. I mean,
Mhm.
they're consistently good. But
True.
yeah, I think he had a sword in the NES game, and I think it was Dark Matter in Dreamland too. No, actually, Dark Matter. I think you had to collect all those drops to get
It
to
was
Dark
like an
Matter.
optional ending sort of thing.
Yeah, those were
Yeah.
hard to get too. I never
Mhm.
did get them all because some of them you needed like specific. You needed like a specific animal copy combination at like that exact moment to like
Yeah.
access it, and then if you didn't have that, you'd have to like start over or just skip it. And I
Mhm.
I never had the discipline
Yeah, and that
to
is one
do
of the
it.
tricky
Although
things. Yeah, sorry, you
on
go.
Virtual Console, I guess it'd be easy enough to create a restore point and just,
True.
huh,
Yeah, that's true.
maybe I will try that in the cheating way.
Yeah. It's okay because it's an older game now, so you're allowed to do
Yeah,
that, I think.
yeah, I've already beaten it once, so
Yeah.
now I can mess around.
Yeah, and I love
Um,
that when he does wield the sword, he because, like I said, there's a few Mario comparisons, but this is obviously a Link comparison, when he's got the sword, and even in some games when he
yeah,
wears that little Link hat.
yeah,
So, it's part of his, copy ability, I guess, but, um
that's true. Yeah, I think that made the wasn't that the cover on the Wii Return to Dreamland? I think he had the Link hat on the
right.
cover.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he's really cute with that little hat on. It makes me think again to the holiday season, and I just wanna see him with a little Santa hat or something to melt those Scrooge-like hearts.
What would his ability be with a Santa hat?
Ooh, I don't know, presents or something to do with, Christmas lights or something.
Kill
Maybe,
them with kindness.
or he could maybe eat a cookie and then shoot a million cookies back at people. I don't know.
Huh.
Yeah.
All sorts of we'll add that to our that'll be a stretch goal in our
Yeah.
Kirby Mega Man crossover.
Yes, that would be
Unlock
great.
this goal to get Kirby to shoot cookies.
There's probably a game in there as yeah, definitely. There's like a an offshoot game in there as well. Kirby Cookie Shooter or something.
Well, they did have Yoshi Cookie on
They did,
the NES,
yes.
so
True, yeah.
oh man. Oh, Kirby Dream Land 2. Both games great on the Game Boy, but obviously they paved the way for the biggest Kirby Dream Land get yet, and that was the third entry on the SNES, which came out in late 97. My goodness.
Mhm,
And that was in North America. I don't even think you got it like you were saying, Gemma, right?
mhm. That's right. It, didn't come out on the Super Nintendo here, so
That's
yeah, which is a bit of a
crazy.
sad thing.
You know what's funny? This wasn't the first Kirby game to launch late on a system. Obviously, Kirby's Adventure
Mhm.
on the NES came out in 93, which was, well into the life of the Super Nintendo. And,
True.
um, the Kirby games that followed, a lot of them came out really. Crystal Shards on the 64 came out late. The Wii got the Kirby collection very late.
Mhm.
Um, Even on 3DS, the last Nintendo published game was Extra Epic Yarn. So I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Kirby's often late to the party.
Yeah, what does that say about our little friend?
I don't know. It doesn't
Maybe.
always impact. I mean, it doesn't impact critical reception necessarily,
Mhm,
but I
that's
think
true.
it can hurt sales because a lot of people, you know, some people move on to a new console or system and they don't want to go back.
Mm,
Others will hang on to them, but yeah, I don't know. I think it hurt Kirby's Dream Land 3 though, because it's sort of I think it's underrated. It's kind of the black sheep of the Kirby games because most people mention Superstar, which was
mm,
out a year before on Super Nintendo, but they're not really. I mean, they're both Kirby games, but they're not really comparable because Superstar is more like a mini game compilation,
mhm.
where Dreamland 3 is a continuation of the Game Boy games.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Um,
It probably has a lot to do with the timing, I suppose, yeah, which is a shame because, yeah, like I said, this is a bigger, more ambitious version of the previous 2 entries. Obviously, it's on a console for the first time. Um, it's colorful and yeah, I wonder if that's why they didn't release it in Australia as well, just because it was so late in the
yeah,
console's life.
I wonder if the games had been flipped, if Dreamland 3 came out like in '96 and then Superstar came out the following year, I wonder if the people would look back at this more fondly
Mm,
just because they have more nostalgia for it. But
yeah,
I don't
and
know. I didn't play it till the Wii U, I think,
mhm,
um, release, and I loved it even then. I thought it's got such a unique kind of visual style compared
mm,
to most Super Nintendo games. Like
yeah,
it almost has
it
like a I don't know art terminology, so I don't even know how to describe it, but
it
like
reminds
how in
me.
Skyward Sword, it kinda
Mhm,
has that, like, almost watercolor kinda look.
mhm.
Like, I feel like Kirby's Dream Land 3 kinda had that.
Yeah, it definitely does. It's sort of a little washed out, a little watercolory, and it reminds me a little bit of the Yoshi's Island series for its light tones, I suppose, and colors. I know that's more of a what's that? That's more not scribbles, but it's like a cut, like a
Oh,
kid's
I no, I can see what
cut.
you mean, though.
But you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's got that sort of vibe to it in a good
Yeah.
way. Yeah, definitely makes me think of that, which is
Yeah, I
interesting.
think it's a beautiful game. I think it's aged well. I mean, a lot of the 16-bit games have aged pretty well compared to,
Mm.
like, say, like 64 games, but
Yeah, definitely agree with that. Yeah, it still stands up today, and yeah, true for many, many titles in that that era. Um, yeah, and I was just going to say, what was I? I lost my train of thought. Then, sorry.
no worries. Um, One of my favorite things from a Dreamland 3 is we get Gooey, which is
Mm.
the most lovable chunk of dark matter ever. Um, he's kind of your buddy during the adventure, and what's awesome, and I feel it doesn't get talked about enough, is this had co-op.
Mm.
Superstar had co-op to an extent too, but this was a full adventure where you could play cooperatively, which I've done with my wife a couple times, and it's a lot of fun. Um, just having not that the game's hard, but it's just fun having somebody to accompany you
Yeah,
on the adventure. And Gooey with
exactly.
his long tongue, such members.
Yeah, and
Um,
he was very helpful, even as a CPU character. Actually, um,
I
I was
bet you got
surprised.
kids, Gemma. I bet your kids would like if you haven't already tried it. I bet they'd have fun playing
True.
co-op this.
We haven't actually tried that, but that's a really good point. Because like I said, I was playing it recently anyway, but just by myself.
Yeah.
And yeah, GUI was very helpful, just hanging around and being cute for dark matter. But having 2 players, and I think it's because Mario has even 4 players now, but back in '97, Mario was very much it was a 2-player game, but you play 1 player then 2 players, right? You
Yeah,
know,
alternating.
yeah, exactly. So this was kind of a new concept for a platformer having 2 at once, which is pretty cool
It
and probably something
yeah.
that's overlooked as well.
It really was. I mean, because I think back to, like, multiplayer in, like, the '90s for 16-bit consoles, and it was
Mhm.
if they had multiplayer, um well, first of all, you need like a multi-tap because the systems only had 2 controllers, but,
Mm.
depending on how many you have, but any multiplayer is really competitive, like your
Mhm.
sport games or something like that.
Mm.
There really
Bump.
wasn't a lot of cooperative play. I could probably count the number of co-op games on one hand,
Yeah, that's
just from
true.
memory. So I
Yeah.
like that because I always have more fun. I like competitive games too, mind you, but I tend to have better memories and more fun playing cooperatively.
Yeah. I'm the same, definitely. I don't know why. Like, I'm fine with having Mario Kart race or a battle. Like I said, I'm not very good at Smash Brothers, but it's fun. But yeah, there's something about working together in a platformer or other genre to find a secret or to beat a boss or whatever you're doing. Yeah, I think I don't know. It's a bonding experience, isn't it?
Yeah, it
Mm.
is. It is, and of course, GUI lives on, and I really should check it out. But when Star Allies had, Star Allies kind of launched a little bare bones, but they've had updates like a lot of the Switch games had, and GUI's available. So
That's so cool. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to
Yeah, definitely. Get back to us on that one because
check that
I don't
out.
know either.
We'll
Mm,
probably be talking about it in the future, but yeah, I
true.
gotta I gotta get some more Kirby games. Get the ones I've missed.
Yeah, well, that's like we said earlier, there's over 30, so there's a lot there.
Yeah.
What percentage do you think you have covered?
Oh boy, maybe for the mainline games.
Mm,
Let's see. I probably got them 75%, maybe.
that's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, not too bad, but I'm hoping to take advantage. I don't know in Australia how it is, but we have Black Friday coming up here,
Ah, yeah. Mhm.
and I'm hoping to take advantage. Maybe they have like buy one get one, or even 30% off, which doesn't maybe sound like a lot, but for first party games, that
Mm,
usually don't go
it
on sale.
is.
That's usually not bad.
Yeah,
Do you have
exactly. It's
anything
a
like
huge
that in your
saving.
neck of the woods?
We do. Yeah, it's become a thing over here as well. Probably not quite as intense as what it is over there, but that
Violent.
yeah, yeah. For us, it's probably more online sales. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's a couple of days where you can get stuff discounted online. There's not so much the lining up at the stores to get the discounts.
Mm.
Yeah, that we see in
Yeah, you're
America.
better off
But
that way.
yeah, I'm much happier buying, especially games and stuff like that. I'm just fine with online. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's less intense.
Yeah, I hear you. Um, so yeah, back to Dreamland 3. Obviously the animal allies from 2 are back, and they also added another trio. You got a bird, you got a cat, and you got this jelly blob, which I think's an octopus, or
Yeah,
or a
I
squid.
I
I was never
thought it
totally sure, but I think it's an octopus.
I had thought squid, but it could easily be an octopus, honestly.
Yeah, I think I had to look it up because I'm like, what is? Because it doesn't really have long, like tentacles or arms.
Mm.
Like they're kind of just, I don't know. It's
That's
still cute
interesting.
though. It's still cute.
Yes. They are all
And,
very cute.
yeah, just so many options with the copy abilities. Like, I can't, it's just so much fun experimenting to see like what each one does. Some like look cool, but maybe aren't terribly helpful, and then other ones are like overpowered, and you're like, oh, I
Yeah.
never want to give this up, but at the same time, you do because you want to see what's next. So,
Mm. Mhm. Yeah. For me, I think an example of one that looks cool but isn't necessarily helpful is the rock one? I don't know what you
oh yeah,
call it, but I'm just like, you just turn into a rock and you just sit there. I mean, you can smash down and stuff like that, but the enemies walk past you, I guess, which is handy. It's just,
yeah.
and
I
it
suppose
looks,
it's kind of way to hit.
yeah, it looks cool, but it's not my favorite. So,
It
but
does,
it's
yeah.
very amusing the first time you try it, though. It just like, oh look, I'm a rock.
A little bit of eye candy.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah,
and a good
exactly.
looking game. I mean, they really managed to tap the power of the old SNES by '97.
Hmm. Oh yeah,
Um,
definitely. Yeah. I wonder if that's Kirby's place. I know we were talking about this earlier about him being late on consoles' lives, and I wonder if that will happen with the Switch as well. Like, we're
Yeah,
talking about a Switch replacement soonish, and there's a Kirby game next year. Could it be a sign of the times?
yeah. I feel like, and I'd have to look it up, but I feel like almost every system has gotten a late Kirby game, except for maybe the GameCube, because I think the GameCube only got Kirby Air Ride.
Right.
Um,
Okay. Interesting.
yeah, I think Dreamland was actually planned for the GameCube and then got put into hiatus until it came out on the Wii,
Okay.
and
Mm.
then soon on the Switch in deluxe.
Yeah,
So
which is exciting. Definitely.
lots of Kirby games in the pipeline. But we mentioned before with the first two Dreamland games. If you don't have a Game Boy and don't feel like looking on eBay for a copy, if you have your 3DS linked to your Nintendo account,
Hmm.
you can still, if you add funds from the Switch, they'll still show up, in on your 3DS or your Wii U, and you can still download the original Dreamland games. They're only a few bucks. I think they're totally worth it.
Mm.
And
Yeah,
Dreamland
absolutely.
3 is free. Well, not free because you have to pay for the expansion pack, but it's on Switch online.
Hmm.
So I encourage anyone who hasn't played it or who overlooked it, check it out. I feel like it's an underrated game.
Yeah, it's absolutely worth it. And if you do already have an online expansion pack, like you said, it's free. You've got nothing to lose, so definitely check it out. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's one of the it's one of the classics. Even though it's underrated, it's definitely one that should be played by Kirby fans if they haven't already, but platforming fans as well.
Yeah. And there's other games too on there's superstars on there, and what's that mini golf one I was talking about? I forget the name of it. That's on there too.
Yeah. And did you
Uh
notice there's like a special edition version of some games now?
yeah, it basically kind of, well, I don't know specifically with Kirby, but I know with other ones like Zelda, like you start off with like max rupees and like
Yeah.
you get the good shield, good ring, good sword.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of speeds up the process.
Yeah, and I wasn't sure with Mario because I tried Super Mario World. I'm like, what was this special edition thing? And I think you've completed all the levels. I only walked around the first couple of maps, but it looked like they're all completed, even the secret levels. So I think you can just go into any level you want, but I'm not sure what the
Yeah,
point of that is. And with the Kirby one, I think I did start that, and I think you again have completed all the levels, so you
I
can kind
think
of
you're
just
right.
pick and
That
choose where
actually
you go. Yeah.
that rings a bell because I think for Kirby's Adventure, which we didn't talk about much today, that'll be a different show. But I think for that, when I checked that out, it gives you access to basically any level.
Mm.
So if you don't want to play through the game like in a linear fashion, like if you just want to revisit favorite stages like from your childhood, or just kind of jump around and see what it's all about,
Mm.
I guess that's a good option to have.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know when they became available. I only noticed them recently. I thought, oh, that's
I
interesting.
don't know. Yeah, but it's just another option. I mean, it's not that Kirby games are hard, but
Mm.
um, for young kids, who maybe don't have the dexterity or who didn't grow up with like Mario type games or whatever,
Yeah,
it might
true.
be a good way for them to get a taste.
Yeah, that's cool. More choice is always a good thing, I guess.
Yeah. And with Kirby, there's a lot, over 30, and we're hoping to
Yeah.
talk about them. Well, not all of them, but all the mainline ones at least.
Mm. Yeah.
But yeah, it's certainly he started strong with this trio, the Dreamland trilogy, and yeah. Anything else you wanted to mention or say or?
Just that I'm looking forward to what Kirby has in store for us next year and in the future. And I'm really glad that he's been going strong for 30 years. I think that says something. These a lot of these games, some of them, like I mean, Mario's obviously popular. Legend of Zelda's popular. They've got games all over the place, but some other series in Nintendo's catalog have very big gaps. Like Kid Icarus or I
Mm,
don't know, something like that. It's nice that it's good that Kirby is popular and they're still making games that are fresh I mean, even
Yeah.
Kirby's Dream, what was it, Dream Buffet, the one that came out on the Switch?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was different. It was very Fall Guys ish, but it was fun. And just that's the thing with Kirby and Nintendo, I suppose, in a way, just trying to keep things fresh and make new experiences for players that look good and play well and just keep you entertained. So here's to more
Yeah.
30 more years of Kirby. Can you imagine in
Yeah.
60 years us doing another podcast, or 30 more years doing another podcast for the
We'll
60th
be talking.
anniversary?
Welcome to the Pure Nintendo podcast. Uh, it's funny you mentioned Kid Icarus. The last Kid Icarus game, also done by Sakurai.
Oh, really? Oh, there you go.
Little fun fact.
Yeah, okay. I did not know
Uh,
that.
yeah, that was. Yeah, he moved on from Kirby to a little Kid Icarus, and then a lot of Smash Brothers. So,
Yeah, yeah, very
uh,
busy.
yeah,
Mm,
but yeah, this was fun, and again, just to remind people who are listening, we're going to be jumping around a lot. We're going to be talking about first generation Pokemon next episode. That's going to be fun. I think we're going to have a few more faces
mhm.
or voices because
Yeah.
obviously we can't hear this. And then we're going to be jumping back to Mario, and then we're going to be jumping back to Kirby to continue our 30-year anniversary celebration. So there's a good variety. Hopefully you like all of them, but uh, even if one of them's not your series or franchise, hopefully we have enough to entice you to come back and give us a listen. And certainly to check us out on purenintendo.com to keep up with reviews. We have a new issue coming out. Stay tuned for news on that. And obviously, Gemma, you're active not just with Koopa Kast, but also the Pure Nintendo podcast. So you want to talk a
Yes.
little bit about that real quick?
Yeah, we do our weekly podcast. Usually it's out on a Friday, talking about all things Nintendo, including, yeah, latest reviews, news, games we're playing. So that's a regular series that we're doing. That sort of goes hand in hand with the special Koopa Kast series. So yeah, check us out. We're on all the Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, blah blah blahs. So give us a listen and yeah, let us know what you think.
A lot of amiibo talk on the
Yeah,
podcast
yeah,
too. That's what I wanted to ask you. I'm gonna steal a little bit from the
sure.
podcast. What do you have for Kirby amiibo?
Ooh, I think I've only got the one. I've just got the one Kirby amiibo.
Is it
Um,
the which one? Because there's more than one Kirby.
the one on the star.
Ah, that's the one I have too. I think that
Yeah.
came with Planet Robobot.
Yeah,
Memory
yeah.
serve.
So I know there's a lot more. There's and I say this all the time. There's so many, each series has like Animal Crossing has a lot, Mario has a lot, Zelda has a lot, blah blah blah. Um,
Mm.
yeah, and obviously Kirby has a lot, which I have yet to acquire. So just
Uh,
the one at the moment.
here's a little. I'm gonna end with a little fun story. Well, it's not even that fun, but it is a story.
Okay.
I also have Star Kirby, and I wanted to get. There's I think four that came out at the same time. There's Meta Knight,
Mhm.
DDD, and Waddle Dee.
Mm.
And I had actually ordered Meta Knight and DDD, and yeah, I placed an order. They were in my cart, paid for it, and checked out. And so I was waiting around. I'm like, "Where's my order?" And I looked, and it didn't actually process.
Oh
They never
no.
took the money out for some reason, and I'm like, "Huh, that's weird." But by the time I realized that, like a week had gone by, and then like a bill came in, and I'm like, "Oh, I can't be spending whatever
Oh,
$30 on amiibos or whatever it was,"
yeah. So
and
you
I
missed
never
out.
actually did get them.
Oh no.
And
That
I
would have been cool.
yeah, they were, like, almost in my hand, so to speak, and then
Yeah. Yeah, because 'cause they're
just one of those quirks.
yeah. I haven't seen them around, so I think they're a little harder to get now, which is, yeah, probably not what you wanna
Yeah.
hear, but
It's
the
funny, I look at Amiibo or even games especially, like 3DS because the shop's closing up, and
mm,
I'm like, "Man, I shoulda grabbed this game when it was on the shelf for however many
yeah,
bucks," because now they're like, ugh. I feel like it's
it's
like that kinda every generation, though, like,
mm,
games or merchandise, you know,
yeah, it's
especially with
crazy.
Nintendo stuff. Nintendo stuff
Yeah,
really seems to hold some good value, so
it does. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
exactly.
The
Yeah.
solution is just grab everything that you can afford,
Yeah. Buy it when you
and
see
maybe
it.
some things you can't afford. I know a lot of people do that, but I'm not advocating debt, but
No.
there's a lot of
We try to do it within reason,
there's a
within
lot of
within your means.
a lot of good stuff out there, and certainly a lot of good Kirby stuff that we'll be talking about, and Mario and Pokemon and everything. But hey, thanks a lot, Gemma, for being with me, and even
My
just the two of us.
pleasure.
I think it was fun.
Yeah, thank you. No, definitely a fun conversation. Yeah, always happy to chat with you.
And yeah, we'll catch everyone in the next one.
Thanks.